AEW has a big roster. If you just started watching AEW Dynamite episodes, you may feel overwhelmed by sheer amount of character. As the show has full continuity, it may be daunting when trying to catch up on all the story. All the main event guys have their own individual journeys. What is so great about that is that each of these wrestlers stayed consistent while still progressing their character development. As it is pretty hard to keep up with every character detail that already happened, I decided to make this analysis video. And it will be about one wrestler that you may find very interesting to watch. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, a former AEW World Champion. So, who is this Maxwell? How did he got here? What struggles he had to overcome? What character traits does he have? All of that I will cover on this analysis. I hope this video will help those who has this one friend who might start watching AEW but needs a little bit more info before jumping in, something that could work as a good introduction to how AEW runs their characters. MJF calls himself the devil, people call him their scumbag and he loves it. Is it a good thing? Well, let's find out. This is basically where we are now, but I will start from the beginning.
Please welcome 5-year-old cutie patootie, Max Friedman!
Maxwell Jacob Friedman, also known as MJF, wanted to be a professional wrestler since his childhood. And how was his childhood? Well, he lived in a wealthy, loving family with both of his supporting parents. MJF first saw professional wrestling when he was 6 years old. He described the memory of attending a family party where wrestling was playing on TV, and it caught his attention. After taking his dad into buying a DVD of WWF King of the Ring, the first full match MJF watched was Undertaker vs. Mankind, a violent match where Mankind not only got thrown off a steel cage, but threw it as well. So, we got the 6-year-old kid. Loving parents allow him to watch pro wrestling, live in a nice big home, everything seems to be working great, but trouble started when Maxwell got to school. He wasn't the tallest kid, always wanted more attention, wanted everyone to see him as the special talented kid. The reason for this attention-seeking personality may be coming from being raised as a single kid. Some might say he was raised with a silver spoon in his mouth. It is either his way or the highway. The parents just wanted to keep the child happy. MJF also grew up with a learning disability. Even with all the talent, he wasn't the best student. And to note, kids also teased him for being Jewish. MJF said that other kids often threw pennies at him. All these reasons pushed MJF into sports. He didn't want to get bullied, he wasn't doing great in maths and English, he was a natural athlete, so American football was pretty easy to jump into. Maxwell recalls one of his favorite parts of playing football included playing in another team's hometown and enjoying every second of anger of a crowd's face whenever he scored, which he did quite often. By that time, MJF was still enjoying watching pro wrestling and his favorite wrestler was CM Punk. MJF wanted to get famous like CM Punk. He loved watching Punk get angry at everyone. To him, CM Punk was like this lone wolf who gets shit done. And MJF saw himself in Punk. As Maxwell had no friends, he was alone in every fight and he got bullied a lot. He mentioned the pranks his football team loved to do to him. It included quarters getting thrown at him that left scars. MJF mentioned that it was fine as long as he could get home and watch his favorite wrestler defeat his enemies on TV. But one day, CM Punk left WWE. And that's when MJF felt even more alone. He got tired of being bullied and decided to beat CM Punk, the man that had a nickname Best in the World. MJF told himself if he was the best, no one could touch him. And to be the best, you need to be on the top. So MJF figured that he will do anything it takes to get to the top. And it happens that he chose to be the best pro wrestler. He started joining independent wrestling shows, got booked in matches. Being naturally gifted, MJF performed really well. But that wasn't getting him anywhere near the top. MJF started using underhanded tactics to win his matches. Started making enemies on purpose just so he could get booked against them in a match. And the more matches he had, more opportunity he had to be scouted by WWE. And then it happened. William Regal, on behalf of WWE, saw MJF wrestling in ring, saw how vicious he was, how talented he was for his age. Regal offered MJF a WWE tryout. This is where WWE tests your athletic abilities, and if you pass, they will offer you a developmental deal. MJF went to the tryout, he passed it with green colors. Sadly, Regal told him that he was too young, told him to wait a few more years, and then he will get to try again. Basically, Maxwell, since his childhood, really hated to be said no to. So he sent more emails trying to reach out, but Regal never contacted him again. So we got a kid who lived with a silver spoon in his mouth, got bullied for most basic things, overcame everything through anger, creativity, and sheer work rate. And now after he gets his hopes up, Maxwell gets left hanging waiting for that reply. And it never comes. MJF got pissed. He started taking it out on his opponents even more. Physically and verbally, he was acting more and more like a bully. MJF also knew how to suck up to the right people. He met Cody Rhodes, who saw potential in him, and that's how MJF played a student that loved to fill Cody Rhodes' ego. MJF acted like he was willing to learn everything from Cody. And here's one small detail. MJF noticed the attachment Cody had to his late father, and what MJF did, he tried to be as relatable as possible. He wanted to show Cody that they are just alike. They both have his passion to their father. Well, in reality, MJF hated his father. It doesn't matter if his father was so great to him. What MJF saw in his own father was weakness. He always thought that his father was pathetic pushover, someone that MJF never wants to be like. He sees himself as a complete opposite from his father. So yeah, MJF played up to Cody, and this is how MJF got to AEW. In AEW, he pissed a lot of people off in a typical MJF fashion. He even interrupted legendary Bret the Hitman Hart. He said that the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be moniker is a pile of shit, because MJF is the best there ever will be, and that everyone will see that soon. Cody knew what kind of scumbag MJF was, but he still chose to help this kid out. While MJF saw this relationship as an opportunity to get the spotlight where he can showcase his own greatness, MJF betrayed Cody Rhodes eventually, and hired a bodyguard by nickname Wardlow to protect him. Maxwell is a calculative guy. He plans things few steps ahead, and he's not afraid to get things dirty. So as MJF didn't need Cody anymore, he just betrayed him and left him hanging. He also knew that Cody will want to face him in the ring. He wanted Cody to face him in the ring because MJF knew that the victory against Cody Rhodes would help him get closer to AEW World Title. And MJF always knew he was better than Cody. All these years, MJF was the only guy in his own ear, telling himself how great he is. That was what he had to do. Don't forget, he had no friends. He needed to motivate himself to reach the top, just so everyone would start to respect him, or even fear him. So MJF beat Cody Rhodes. Of course he cheated, but that is what MJF does. He always cheats. If there's a way to win, he will do it. Doesn't matter how dirty it may get. After MJF defeated Cody Rhodes, he engaged in a significant feud with Jon Moxley, who was AEW World Champion at that time. This rivalry culminated for that championship at All Out pay-per-view in 2020. Despite his efforts, MJF was unsuccessful in capturing the championship from Moxley. This must have hurt MJF. He tried to play mind games, but Moxley was just too mysterious. The only thing that MJF spotted wrong in Moxley's game was his technical defense. MJF managed to out-wrestle Moxley, but in the end Moxley out-cheated MJF to regain his title. This feud showcased MJF's ability as a top heel in AEW. A spoiled kid with tremendous talent, a rich scumbag who's willing to do anything to win. After that loss, MJF had to find another way to get to the top. Competition was getting deep, but here he was, former AEW World Champion Chris Jericho. An opportunity for MJF to get back at the title picture. All he needed to do was to join the Jericho's faction, which was called the Inner Circle, destroy it from within and get back to the title picture with his own newly formed faction that replaces the Inner Circle. MJF and Jericho had a series of interactions that led to a match at a Full Gear pay-per-view, where if MJF won, he and Wardlow would be allowed to join the Inner Circle. MJF defeated the former world champion and became a member of the faction. MJF's presence in the Inner Circle created tensions and mistrust among the group members, and when the time was right, MJF revealed his true intentions by betraying Jericho and the Inner Circle, forming his own faction called the Pinnacle. FTR, Shawn Spears, Wardlow, and MJF as their leader. The feud of factions reached a climax with Blood and Guts match, which is AEW's version of the War Games match. The Pinnacle emerged victorious in this brutal encounter, where MJF, after winning the match for his team, decided to throw Jericho off the steel cage just like Undertaker did to Mankind. This just proves how fucking vicious MJF is. And that image of MJF standing on top of a steel cage looking down at the former AEW World Champion. With all the momentum, MJF was ready to get back to AEW World title, but he underestimated the inner circle. The group, instead of being defeated and dissolved, got even stronger, and they were not done with MJF and the Pinnacle. The rivalry continued with various matches and segments, including a Stadium Stampede match at Double or Nothing in 2021, where the inner circle defeated the Pinnacle. For MJF, this was a step back. He was not getting closer to the top. Even when he was surrounded by these people, he had no idea how to make friends. Wardlow was working for him, Sean Spears was just a leech trying to stay relevant, FTR realized this whole faction thing is not for them. As a matter of fact, FTR had been vocal about their dedication to tag team wrestling, and may have preferred to focus on their tag team career rather than being part of a larger faction. MJF was not a natural-born leader, and he could not keep the priorities of his faction straight, all because he was only focused on himself.
Who's to know if your soul will fade?
Around that time, a certain big name appeared in AEW by the name of CM Punk. That is right. It was Maxwell's favorite wrestler finally coming back to wrestling after all these years. MJF wanted to shake CM Punk's hand, but CM Punk ignored him. Probably saw how MJF acted these years, and had zero respect for him because of it. Punk criticized MJF's arrogance and lack of respect. MJF taunted Punk about his failures and his return to wrestling. Punk responded by highlighting MJF's insecurities and lack of accomplishment compared to himself. These two egos clashing was just great TV. MJF and Punk finally faced off in CM Punk's hometown. MJF initially won the match by using his signature Dynamite Diamond Ring. It's a move where MJF tries to distract the referee from seeing him put on a big-ass ring, and then using that ring to knock his opponent out. Well, in fact, in the same match, MJF used like a ribbon to choke out Punk. But then ref saw the ribbon and restarted the match, so MJF just cheated again and win. So we got MJF beating Punk 2 times in the same night. That victory could be called a bit controversial and underscored MJF's willingness to use underhanded tactics to win. But the feud wasn't over, it actually became even more personal, with MJF bringing up Punk's past and questioning his integrity and passion for wrestling. In a very emotional promo, MJF revealed his past admiration for Punk and blamed Punk for abandoning him and other fans when he left wrestling, painting himself as a betrayed fan, blaming Punk for the pain he suffered, as Punk was supposed to be the hero. But now as we met, MJF knows this guy was never a hero, he was a self-absorbed, self-righteous quitter. The rivalry culminated in a dog collar match, a stipulation that harkens back to some of the most brutal and personal feuds in wrestling history. The match was incredibly physical and violent, with both men bleeding and using the chain as a weapon. Wardlow had the Dynamite Diamond Ring in his pocket, which he was supposed to give to MJF if he needed help. But when MJF was asking for that ring, Wardlow pretended that he couldn't find him, and then later on gave that ring to CM Punk. So, Wardlow has decided that enough is enough, and he finally left MJF. No money in the world can outstand the insufferable character that MJF has. CM Punk defeated MJF, and from there both wrestlers moved on to the new storylines. MJF betrayed by Wardlow eventually led to Wardlow's face turn and feud between them, while CM Punk continued to pursue the AEW World title. MJF was so close to the championship, if only he would have defeated Punk, but now it was personal. Wardlow cost him the match. To be fair, MJF always treated Wardlow like trash. He paid Wardlow, but he never treated him like a friend. He never treated him like a equal. It was just a body guy that's gonna defend him, and MJF will pay him, because MJF knows Wardlow needs the money. So MJF will use him like a weapon while treating him like a fucking trash. If there's any mistake, MJF always blames Wardlow for it. MJF always saw Wardlow as this jacked, good-looking guy who really is desperate for money, who will suck up to him, do all these horrible things, and shut up about it. Because why wouldn't he? He's just like any other jock that mocked him, that threw pennies at him. MJF saw Wardlow for who he really was, a narcissistic guy who was desperate. So why would he treat this piece of shit any better than anyone else? MJF already was paying him, so What else does he want? A kiss? A hug? Fuck that. And now, after all these years of paying this man's salary, Wardlow just fucks him over at this level of a match against CM Punk. A guy that MJF idolized while growing up. A guy that left wrestling. And after that, MJF had the darkest time in his life. He had to go through this journey of being pissed at everyone, fighting everyone alone because CM Punk left. During matches and segments, MJF would often use Wardlow to do his dirty work, but would also berate him for any failures. This was the reason why Wardlow just couldn't stand MJF anymore, no matter how much he got paid. And then MJF, furious over Wardlow's betrayal, tried to ruin Wardlow's career. He claimed Wardlow was still under contract to him and not AEW, using this as a leverage to block Wardlow from competing. MJF set up series of obstacles for Wardlow to overcome. This included facing tough opponents and enduring physical punishments such as lashes with the belt. And Wardlow had a choice. If he overcomes those obstacles, he gets a match against MJF. And if Wardlow beats MJF, he gets released from the contract. Wardlow overcame all the obstacles, providing his resilience and determination. The match was set for AEW Double or Nothing, and the stipulation was, if Wardlow won, he would be free from MJF's contract, but if he lost, he would be permanently banned from AEW, which was what MJF really wanted. But he clearly underestimated what happened to Wardlow. Wardlow was treated like trash all these years. He was burning inside. There was deep anger inside of him. He was just willing to kill MJF any moment. And as we know, Wardlow is not a weak opponent. He's very fast, agile, like he's very powerful. He can throw his opponents like toys. And that was the eventuality of that match. MJF got dominated by Wardlow. Wardlow just hit powerbomb after powerbomb after powerbomb after powerbomb after powerbomb. Yeah, MJF was dominated. I don't remember MJF having any offense. He was just destroyed, left, and defeated. And Wardlow became victorious and got released from the contract of MJF. So that was another humiliation for MJF, who was finding it harder and harder to cheat his way to victory. By that point, everyone knew his dirty tricks. Everyone knew they can't trust him. You would have to be a deranged man to trust MJF. His manipulative and vindictive character work during this feud added depth to his persona. MJF was defined. We had his full backstory. We got used to him being this cheater who will do anything to win. We also noticed his durability, how much punishment he can withstand. As much as he was a scumbag, he was a tough one. Not many wrestlers had victories over MJF, and you had to be really good to beat MJF. Wardlow, by defeating MJF, got a push to TNT Championship straight away, while MJF was absent from TV for a short period, sitting at home, recuperating, thinking of a new plan, waiting for the right moment to strike, and healing up. I would say that's a smart thing to do, as AEW sometimes does these casino ladder matches where the winner gets a chance at AEW World Champion. Last entrant in that type of match is called a Joker. And guess who returned to AEW after short absence as a Joker? It was Maxwell Jacob Friedman. In the casino ladder match, a lot of masked guys came in the ring and started attacking every contestant until a figure wearing a devil's mask came in and got declared the winner. Later on, MJF took off the devil's mask right before challenging current AEW World Champion at that time, Jon Moxley. The devil's mask itself, I find it pretty strange. I bet it has something to do with MJF being a huge CM Punk fan, as one of the phrases CM Punk loved to use was about Devil making everyone believe he is not real. And with his short absence, people started to think that MJF actually left AEW. By seeing how he was dominated, maybe he was just done. That mask also could represent how MJF saw himself, which showed how he was aware of being the bad guy. He justified his bad behavior to himself by remembering how no one will protect him apart from himself. How he has to stab everyone in the back to climb to the top, and being at the top means you are the best. When you're the best, you get famous, everyone will see how good you are, how better you are than them as they look from below. This title match against Moxley may have been MJF's last chance. If he cannot defeat Jon Moxley, he definitely is not the best. MJF already lost to the Inner Circle, already lost to CM Punk, and not short after he lost to Wardlow. Of course, on paper, MJF has victories over Jericho, already has a victory over CM Punk, he sure has a right to challenge the world champion. But can he actually beat the champion? At that time, AEW World Champion Jon Moxley recently became a faction member, faction known as Blackpool Combat Club. It was more like a training camp than a faction. Its members were Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, and the mouthpiece and the guy behind it all, William Regal. Yes, Regal has found his way to AEW, and MJF never forgot their past. Regal is a sick bastard, he's definitely not right in the head. This man has smashed skulls with brass knuckles, he's a sadistic human being, he loves seeing people get hurt. But he also wants to stay relevant. William Regal has always been portrayed as a character who values cunning, intelligence, and ruthless efficiency in professional wrestling. MJF embodied those traits, using his wit and devious tactics to outmaneuver his opponents. Despite being a heel, MJF is often depicted as one of the smartest and most strategic wrestlers in AEW. And you know what? MJF offered Regal to betray Moxley, help him win the AEW World title. William Regal might have seen an opportunity to leave a lasting impact on AEW by helping MJF secure the title. Regal would tie his legacy to the rise of one of AEW's biggest stars, ensuring that his influence would be remembered. You heard me right, Regal betrayed Moxley near the end of the match. Regal passed his brass knuckles to MJF, and behind the referee's back, MJF hit Moxley in the head with it. And now MJF has done it. MJF has become an AEW World Champion. Regal was happy to stand by his side, and Regal's character has always had mentor-like quality, where he helps younger talent maximize their potential. So by aligning with MJF, Regal positioned himself as a mentor to a new AEW World Champion, potentially guiding MJF to even greater heights. Although not explicitly stated, Regal's betrayal can also be interpreted as a sign of disillusionment with Moxley, or a desire to shake things up. Regal's alignment with MJF can be seen as an acknowledgement of MJF's potential and skill. Regal might have seen in MJF the qualities of a champion who would do whatever it takes to stay on top, aligning with Regal's own philosophy. On the next episode of AEW Dynamite, MJF was celebrating becoming the youngest AEW World Champion. But the celebration didn't end there. He then decided to use the same brass knuckles and hit William Regal in the back of the head with it. Maxwell Jacob Friedman's character is built on being ruthless, manipulative, and self-serving. By turning on Regal, MJF solidified his position as a top heel in AEW. This action demonstrated that MJF does not need anyone's help or mentorship and is willing to cross any line to remain on top. The alliance with Regal was a means to an end for MJF. Regal helped MJF win the AEW World Championship, but once the goal was achieved, MJF had no further use for him. This betrayal shows MJF's strategic thinking and willingness to discard alliances once they no longer serve his purpose. Regal had helped MJF in a critical moment, but MJF needed to show that he was not under anyone's influence or control. And by attacking Regal, MJF proved that he answers to no one.
You said I had much to learn, and yet you're the one who made a deal with the devil. So allow me to leave you with the same words you left me 7 long years ago. Will, the game has changed.
The way the betrayal was executed, with MJF using the same brass knuckles that Regal had given him to win the championship, was poetic. It tied back to their initial alliance and made the betrayal even more impactful. The crowd's reaction to the betrayal was a mix of shock and outrage, which is exactly what a top heel's actions should get. This betrayal reminds us that MJF never forgets. Regal later explained that he deserved to be hit there. He played with the devil and got burnt. He got lured in with an insane potential, and with his past regrets being used against him. Now MJF was the AEW champion, but that was not the end. He did face guys like Ricky Starks, Bryan Danielson, Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, Kenny Omega, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Jay White, Darby Allin, Samoa Joe. His title reign was long, his character still the same scumbag.
So am I still waiting for this world to...
Near the end of his title reign, MJF found himself facing Adam Cole. If you don't know Adam Cole, he's a guy who can't be trusted. He's a cunning, manipulative, and will do anything to get to the top. Sounds familiar? MJF has met someone just like him, and surprisingly, both of them started to get along. They were not willing to be friends, but they found too much in common. And within short period, they started enjoying being in each other's company. Adam Cole desired to be AEW World Champion, and MJF knew that. Fans liked Adam Cole, so when MJF started walking beside him, fans started cheering MJF as well. MJF started to enjoy fans liking him. He still mocked them, he still acted like a total scumbag, but he was at the top, he held the most prestigious title in AEW, he was nearly unbeatable, and now he had a guy he could call a friend. This was when MJF started to realize it wasn't fame he always wanted. It wasn't being the best that he always wanted. He always had the money. He always deep inside knew he was the best anyways. So what did he actually wanted? He realized that he wanted those things to feel secure. And when security came from being alone, no one stood beside him when he was bullied. He always felt like he deserved to have a world, but it always ended up being the world versus him alone. Now he had a friend and he changed his priorities. Now instead of doing anything it takes to stay on top, MJF decided to do anything it takes to make his friend happy. MJF and Adam Cole worked so well together that they even formed a tag team and managed to capture the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. Still, Adam Cole really wanted to be a World Heavyweight Champion. Therefore, MJF offered Adam Cole a match for his AEW World Championship in the main event of the biggest AEW show, if not the biggest wrestling show at Wembley Stadium. This was a true gift from a true friend. When the match came, Adam Cole couldn't defeat MJF, so MJF remained at the top with his friend by his side.
I try to make it through my life in my way.
But as much as this fairy tale ending would be nice, MJF did found something very similar to himself. But there was one big difference. MJF was already at the top and he realized what he always wanted. Adam Cole still haven't reached the top. He's still hungry for that spot. And in few weeks, a guy wearing a devil's mask started appearing. He had a group of masked men attacking anyone who is anywhere close MJF or AEW World title. Adam Cole was injured. While both him and MJF still held the Ring of Honor tag titles, MJF promised to keep the ROH tag titles as those represented their friendship, even though MJF was still AEW World Champion at the same time. So defending tag team titles alone and defending a World Heavyweight Championship at the same time is just incredibly difficult task. And let's not forget, people challenging for AEW World Championship were top tier opponents. One of the challengers was Jay White. This guy's evil, cunning bastard who has this bunch of people helping him win matches. They also bully, harass you backstage, they attack you from behind, they play mind games. And what Jay White knew about MJF was his past. MJF was this bullied kid. He got bullied for being Jewish. So what Jay White did, he gave his roll of quarters to his lackey, just to remind MJF of those times when he was bullied, when he was alone. And at that time, Adam Cole was injured. So again, MJF was alone, facing this group of hooligans. But you know what? MJF prevailed. He managed to defeat Jay White. And you know what helped him? The fans. The fans' support kept MJF going. The idea that he's not alone anymore. He has all these fans behind him. They're supporting him. They're rooting for him. It must have felt really good to him. So MJF was still the ROH Tag Team Champion and AEW World Champion. But it took a toll on him. He was broken. He was badly hurt. And with each consecutive title defense, it was just harder to keep up. And Adam Cole was still injured. So the Tag Team Championships were a huge burden because MJF had to defend them solo. So what he did, he managed to find a guy who was willing to help. Samoa Joe. But Samoa Joe also wanted to be AEW World Champion. So they struck a deal. If Samoa Joe helps MJF defend the Tag Team Championships, he will get a shot at AEW World title. And as much as MJF is willing to plan ahead, This was the plan of a guy wearing the devil's mask. And it turns out that guy was Adam Cole. He couldn't beat MJF, so he decided to eliminate him by manipulation. Adam Cole actually talked to Samoa Joe. This was planned ahead. Samoa Joe will get the title shot while he fuck up the Tag Team Championship match. So he did. Samoa Joe cost MJF the Tag Team Championship. And MJF, after losing the Tag Team Championships, the belts that represent his friendship with Adam Cole, he must have felt devastated. Imagine what that does to your motivation. And now, he had to defend the AEW World Championship against a tough opponent like Samoa Joe, a guy who cost him the tag team titles. It was personal, but he also was very hurt. So MJF couldn't defeat Samoa Joe. He was too hurt to fight any longer. And after the loss, Adam Cole revealed himself to be the devil that was pulling all the strings. And the masked men that helped him were his close friends together with Wardlow, who had his personal hatred towards MJF. Here we go, now we got MJF as a face back in AEW, while Adam Cole is still injured, awaiting his full recovery. MJF is beloved by fans while still being the same scumbag he always was. Just now he appreciates the fans. He looks at them and knows they are on his side. He will tease them, mock them, but it is not malicious. MJF treats the crowd as his only friends. MJF will get to the top eventually. He is well defined as a character. In a ring, he's an incredible athlete and a storyteller. We got full continuity of how he started, how he became most hated wrestler, and how he turned that to be one of the most beloved. If you found this video to be pretty good introduction to who MJF is, make sure to share this video with your friends. Maybe they will start paying attention to AEW. I really recommend watching it. One of my favorite things on TV in a long time. Also, if you want me to delve deep into a particular wrestler, just leave their name in the comments section. I'll look into it. Alright, thanks for watching and have a nice day.